when you're scrolling through your timeline and you see a baddie and you decide to slide into her DMs, what are you doing? You're establishing two-way communication. And that's the most important thing you need to know about Class D airspace. Class D for Delta? Nah. Class Big Draco? Lego. Already 5 must know things about Class D airspace. Big Draco. Let's talk about it. Number 1 on the list, of course, it is a controlled airspace. So unlike Class G, of course, which is uncontrolled, unlike Class E, where there is access to a control tower for you to talk to, but it's not mandatory in Class E. Class D is controlled airspace and it is mandatory, which is why you want to establish that two-way communication. One of the most important things you're going to need to know about Class D airspace. It's usually segmented on your sectional chart with that dotted blue line on your sectional chart, and it's surrounding those controlled airports. You know the difference between a controlled airport and the one that is uncontrolled. That uncontrolled is going to be in that magenta kind of color, that airport symbol, and that blue airport symbol is going to be for a controlled airport. Class D airspace is usually around those smaller controlled airports to protect that space. And always think about why airspace was even there and invented in the first place, to keep people separated and to keep things safe for you in the air. So keeping that in mind, understanding how to identify Class D airspace on your sectional chart. Numero 3, let's talk about the equipment needed for Class D airspace. Class Delta? Nah, Big Draco! The equipment that you're going to need for this airspace, of course, is a two-way radio. How else are you going to slide in them DMs in Class D airspace if you don't have the two-way radio communication? You're going to need to establish that, and you want to contact Class D tower, and you want to let them know you want to enter the airspace and be listening for your call sign and the clearance to get in. Sometimes they may tell you something like, please stand by, because maybe they're trying to clear out the airspace before they allow you to come in. So don't just assume that you're coming in. You're going to hear that call sign. You're going to hear yourself being acknowledged. You may just be asked to stand by. Then that's what you should do. Stand by until you're ready to go in and you're cleared to go into that Class D airspace. Numero 4. Here's a bonus tip about Class D airspace. You may be thinking to yourself, the only equipment that's required are two-way radios. And technically, you are correct. However, let's just say you're looking at that sectional chart and Class D airspace is located around that smaller airport and you're thinking to yourself, I only need a two-way communication. But then you look even broader in a broader view of that sectional chart. Remember, never have laser vision where you only focus in on where you're going on your flight plan. You're always looking at all the surrounding areas as well. And when you look at those surrounding areas, you may see a Mode C veil that's surrounding that Class D airspace. And what that Mode C veil is telling you is that you're going to need a transponder to be inside of that airspace. So even though technically you didn't need that for the Class D, that Class D is located inside that 50-mile nautical mile radius of that Mode C veil, and that's telling you you are going to need a Mode C transponder to fly into that. So always be on the lookout for that. Never just look specifically where you're going on that flight plan. Always look at all the surrounding areas where you're looking for obstacles, where you're looking for transitional periods, where you're looking for all sorts of things on your sectional chart, not just having a tunnel vision of where you're going on there. So that's a nice bonus tip, not only Class D, but anywhere that you're flying in the air. Big Draco! Numero 5. What are the weather requirements inside a Class D airspace? The easy to remember, the frequently used 3 Cessna 152s. We talked about that Cessna 152 that helps you remember that nomenclature of what you need. You're going to need 3 of them things, baby. Uno, dos, tres. 3 152. That's 3 statute miles of visibility, 1,000 feet above the clouds, 500 feet below the clouds, and of course, 2,000 feet horizontal. 152 ABC, above, below, across. Easy way to remember that. You got to use that for a lot of different airspace, like we reviewed, of course, with Class E. Here it goes, repeating itself again in Class D. So easy way to remember that, and once you got that locked in, you can use that multiple applications throughout your flying journey. And these are 5 must-know things about Class D airspace. If there's anything I missed, please hit the comment section down below. Each one teach one, as we all create a community to help each other be better in the sky. Pilots worldwide unite. I am Donovan Batiste. Hey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel for more pilot talk, leadership, and self-improvement, baby. We on the way. Hey, Big Draco.